And welcome back to the LEC, where Fnatic takes down SK 2-0. And our key player of the series was Noah. We've talked about him in Reddit check, Pad.
Yeah.
He's back on form.
He's back on form, right? I think there was a lot of doubts towards him and Jun after last weekend or after last series performance. But I think they showed up. I think especially in game 1 on the Kai'Sa, I think his hit rate on W was probably 100% in the mid game. He found 2 assassination on Niski's Taliyah as well. Like, the guy looked on fire today.
Yeah, and of course, for those keeping track on championship points here, Fnatic's victory against SK locks MDK in our 4-week season finals event, so after Summer Split. So they're
Someone say championship points? How does FLICKR make it?
Oh my God. We don't talk about K-Corp today enough. We're going to take a look at the look lives from BDS here. What have they been cooking? What is this?
He's a summoner spell.
Ah. Oh, yeah.
He was Ghost, and Adam was Heal.
Wait, that was actually really good.
That was really good.
That was
God,
actually
that's
really good.
clean.
I love how creative they are.
And
of course,
summoner spells,
this is much less clean.
yeah, but they've
this
kept
is
that.
basic.
They
this
have
is
kept
boring
that.
compared to what BDS just cooked. Oh,
As you guys
Come on,
understood,
G2, cook something.
we have Fnatic versus G2 coming next. We have been cooking something, though, for this pre-match. We want to spin things around. I'm used to asking players questions. For this time, we ask the players to ask us questions about their performance, the game, and everything. And I think we're going to kick things off with Nuke. So let's hear from him and his first question.
So what's the biggest improvement for Team BDS in the Summer Split? I would say that our biggest improvement would be our diversity and knowledge, both in draft and in game, and we are really determined to show this today against G2.
So we've talked about BDS being one of the most consistent teams throughout the year, but also one of the teams who improved the most. I actually want to ask Pad here what he thinks of this. You faced off against them and you saw their progress throughout the year. Does it come through draft? Does that make sense? What
I think it's really come through draft. I think like how much they've expanded their champion pool basically on every single role. I guess minus ADC because like that guy like is not being targeted, like Ice is not being targeted, but Adam has expanded his champion pool, or at least has picked up more wins on non-Darius, Olaf, Garen champions. And I think actually the biggest shout out should go to Nuke, who was here, because this guy has been carrying games on Nico, on Asia, on Tristana. Like, he has played all the different styles of mid lane you can, these 3 splits, but even in this split. And I think that like his individual step up has made this team so much more scary.
I agree.
You agree? Okay,
I agree.
that's great.
Sheo improved a lot on his champion
Yeah.
pool. There's a lot more diversity, a lot more carry. Before they were getting wins on BDS only with him being on facilitators and Adam doing his funny picks. And right now he's the one who's carrying a lot. And also Nuke, he's giving me a little bit throwbacks of Larsen 2021 when we or like 2022, I forgot whenever it was. But he kind of became the premier control mage player, or the most stable guy in the league, I feel like, because you have Caps, who is pretty much the king right now in that sense, where he's gonna have funny games sometimes.
Yeah.
But Nuke is the control mage, the reliable, the one who's always gonna get ahead and be really good for his team.
Let's get back to the players' questions here. And I think we have Adam coming up next. Let's see what the Gods Master has to say.
So why do you think we picked Rek'Sai against G2?
Okay, so that's actually a good one, because doing PGL yesterday with Yike, he was really surprised that BDS chose the red side. How do you identify this? Does that make sense to you?
It does, because right now when I look at BDS's performance, especially yesterday, they had 3 times blue side. The games were a bit wonky. I think they could have lost all 3 games. And right now, there's a question of, do they think they gain some sort of draft advantage by going red side against G2? Because G2 watch that series, they will get absolutely zero information, because you don't really see draft tendencies or anything on red side from Team BDS. And also, it's funny because he's the one asking the question, but his performance has been a little bit shaky on the Renekton yesterday. I think he didn't really have the greatest series, and they might feel like, even though they had all of these adaptations and improvements coming into the split, maybe now they feel like they need to go back to the roots, where Adam is going to the red side, picking counter pick, and getting a matchup that he feels like he can impact a lot more than he could do the blind pick Renekton yesterday.
Is that it? Is that the reason? Let's see what Adam has to say about this.
Get the answer. Beautiful.
I mean, basically we pick Rek'Sai against G2 because I get counter pick. Thank you.
That's the one. But that was the
Beautiful
expected one,
analysis.
actually. I want to check on G2's side and see what they think. So, Caps, over to you.
what would you rate my performance this split out of 10 and why?
Caps, claps or craps? What has it been in summer so far? Let's hear his reaction maybe, and we'll comment on that.
You know, a slow start, but I would definitely say probably like a 6, 7, maybe like 6.5. Not the best start, but it's slowly getting better.
Yeah, G2 usually ramping up in playoffs. I feel slow start for Caps. Is that worth a 6 or a 7?
I think it's worth a 6.5 for sure. I think like they're definitely ramping up this. They've also had the most busy schedule together with Fnatic, right? They've been so time pressured this entire split so far with EVC, with MSI. But I think any meta where Tristana is part of it, Caps will eventually be the GOAT.
Yeah, you can expect him to shine. Usually, we stay on the G2 side. Actually, we're going to head straight to the casters here, and let's see what they had to say about our players' questions. Over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Laure. Our final question, which we unfortunately did not get to get to, was who would win in a real-life fistfight between Adam and Broken Blade? I don't know the answer, but I'm curious to see what the pros say. Maybe we can revisit it later.
Yeah, maybe. Because that's what we hire analysts for.
Yeah, really, honestly, MMA and now we're just gonna bring in, you know, we're gonna mix it up here. We're gonna keep it fresh.
Keeping it fresh.
Yeah, that's WWE, but close enough. You turn the M's upside down, you're basically there.
Anyway, G2 versus BDS. Welcome everyone. Our final series of the weekend.
Yeah,
round 1 of playoffs.
Coming in to the weekend, I would have been convinced that this series was going to happen, of course, but the nature coming into today of how both teams played in their previous series left a little to be desired. In the case of G2, dominance as expected. But for BDS, there are some questions around their performance still. Expectations high. Ultimately, they got here, and now we have to hope that they can clean it up.
You got to remember that BDS doesn't have a great history against G2.
No, they don't.
They, when it comes to best of series, they often struggle to get a win over G2. They've kind of been this wall that they've always been, well, failed to overcome ultimately. And yeah, we'll see if they're able to adapt coming today, because as you rightly said, in the previous series on Friday, they didn't look great.
It was some interesting draft priority. I'm curious to see how it shifts. The big thing we talked about on Caps is, of course, just the general lack of CC. They were difficult compositions to play. Excuse me. The other thing we're going to keep an eye on is G2. I imagine they won't need to change a whole ton. Yike on those AP champions was kind of the big standout, although Caps apparently coming in at a 6.5 or 7. If those are 6.5 or 7 Tristana plays, I am concerned at what rating any of our Tristanas would get. Because I thought I was like, I could like give myself a 5, and now I'm thinking I'm a 1 or a 2.
Apparently we're on different scales.
Yeah, I think there might be a different scale. G2 immediately banning Jinx, wanting to take Ice off of scaling. Hyper carries. This is, of course, a strategy that MDK brought out on Friday, and you know it worked pretty effectively once you took away the Jinx. Kaisa as well was one of the champions that was hit. Ice's champion pool felt like it shrank pretty quickly.
I mean, Leona, the only champion that we saw from Mikyx in his series yesterday. Of course, we expect him to have things like the Rel, Alistair, Braum, Melio, Ashe. Bot lane was something that this bot lane was bringing out. G2 responding in kind, attacking Labrov's most played champion of the regular season. Something that BDS also had to face when they went up against Mad Lions Koi. Tristana wisely going to be taken away. Now, G2 being forced to ban the Rumble, that is a pretty big deal. Yeah. Typically, this is a mandatory red side ban, but the fact that BDS chose to ban the Tristana second, G2 were worried. They didn't want to have to first pick their champion, so now they're banning it away, which does open up options for BDS further down the series. Right now, it's just a nice ban for them to grab. And with the Ashe taken away, we'll see what the priority becomes. You imagine something like the Sejuani. Yesterday, we saw high priority on the Leona.
Sejuani rising in priority. Obviously, AP junglers have looked pretty successful, but as we saw the Sejuani, if you can find those leads or those gank angles.
The rosters on G2 may change, but the back on Sejuani seems to always stay the same.
Yes. It's an underlying principle for G2 junglers. Whenever they start to feel good, whenever they play an AP champion and start to think, damn, I'm fresh mechanically, they're like right back. We are going to keep that ego in check.
Now, of course, BDS getting comfort of their own Taliyah was something that they consistently relied on during the regular season. They flexed it often between Newt and Sheo.
Berlin, I love you guys, but come on, if you've been G2 fans for long enough to know that it's entirely a coin flip if this gets locked in. You know that one. They hover that one every time. I'm just saying.
Oh.
That one, however, ooh. I've heard a lot about Lucian. Potential.
I mean, Nuke has already showed us the Lucian mid lane.
And I think that's the position that would excite me the most at this point in the draft. But with the
that
Nami...
suggests that it's likely not going to be in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's going to the bottom side. So Hansam and Mikyx setting up for a little bit of bot lane dominance here. They've already taken Labrov off a little bit of comfort. However, I just told the audience not to get excited about the hovers, and then we immediately started talking about the Nami.
Well,
so sorry, a bit of hypocrisy.
Okay.
Apparently, it's a Caitlyn bottom. It's a Lucian mid. So this is something we talked about behind the scenes with Pad, right? If you're going to draft the Sejuani, you really want those strong, aggressive lanes to pair with it. And both the Lucian and the Caitlyn incredibly lane dominant. The Nautilus coming in. Honestly, BDS kind of drafting the vanilla ice cream of compositions. You've got a Nautilus, you've got a Zeri. Nautilus, of course, a nice takeaway because now there's no reliable lockdown for the Zeri outside of Vi, and a jungler has already been locked in for G2.
Brawn ban. Okay. You know what? I would actually love to see a Zyra or a Lux support from Mikyx.
The real throwback.
Yeah, I really think that I mean, in Europe, we don't really see like Caitlyn dominant lanes, right?
No, we don't.
The last time I really, this is really put, the most prevalent one in my mind was actually back in 2017 Worlds, when we were still actually, it was on Misfits actually. Hans was playing Caitlyn with Ignar support. And
look, all I'm saying is they're respecting it. You could argue that what they're
they did ban Zyra.
I'm saying they're probably respecting that the Sejuani is a flex, but I'm
true,
with you on your headcanon that Zyra support is good here.
No, I really think it is.
Block the hook.
Yeah, no, exactly. I genuinely think Zyra support's really good into Nautilus. So the Vi ban, because they're assuming right now that the Taliyah is going to go into mid lane. Of course, we've already seen it flexed into the jungle from Sheo multiple times, so they're always prepared for that. G2 banned the Renekton. I actually thought that they would want to prioritize that as a blind. I guess they're concerned about the possibility of Adam just locking that in here, but there we are. The Viego, a very common pairing that we see from Sheo and Nuke. That kind of mid-jungle carry duo with this setup in particular was something that they leveraged during the regular season a fair amount. And now it does provide that counter pick for Adam. As we heard, this is primarily why they picked red side, to have that counter pick option. So how would G2 round out their draft? What are we going to get paired up alongside this Caitlyn, and what will their blind pick top be?
We are missing some magic damage on the G2 composition. Renata going to be the first lock in for support. We'll see what the last pick is going to opt for here. Aatrox, so full AD. Short of something really crazy on the Lucian.
Garen, Darius, Olaf. Will we get any of the gods? That's my question. Adam's got to have something special for an Aatrox, surely. Is he going to use Broken Blade's tech against him? He is. We're going to get the Mundo coming out in top lane from BDS.
Oh, yes,
so
Goms. Of course, Mundo against a team entirely composed of champions who do physical damage is going to feel awesome if Adam can get through the early game and an even pace. But you can see from what G2 Esports are putting together, yes, Aatrox level 1 when he doesn't have Q up, a little bit weaker, but he gets a few levels under his belt. It's a similar story for the Lucian and the Caitlyn. They have a very powerful composition, especially around those 1 or 2 item spikes.
Yeah, I mean, I might be completely wrong because truthfully, I don't know the Mundo Aatrox top lane matchup. My instinct says that Aatrox should have a pretty good time after the first 2 levels. Maybe because his Q is a very long cooldown, the very early levels, he's going to struggle. But I feel like around the first item, Aatrox really should be able to get a solid advantage in this lane. But, you know, we'll watch the game. We'll see how things pan out. I think the bigger story for G2 is on this bot side of the map. Zeri is not typically known as this lane-dominant champion. And when going into a Renata, who's considered a pretty good matchup into the Nautilus, along with the Caitlyn, that's a very powerful 2v2 bot side. Back in the day, we used to see split maps when playing with Caitlyn. You would try and force the enemy jungler out of their side of the jungle, and then you would just isolate the enemy jungler from ever assisting their bot lane. We'll see if that is the strategy from Yike, or if he's going to take a more traditional approach. This is our first game of the best of 3, G2 versus BDS. Let's see how things pan out.
Berlin full of life here as we enter game 1. Of course, spot in the top 3 on the line.
Oh yeah.
The upper bracket semi-final.
Against
whichever team wins here, against Fnatic. Which, if you follow the narrative, you might have expectations as to where this will end up. astronaut shooting, pointing gun at other astronaut in front of the planet. Wait a second, it's all Fnatic G2. But maybe we'll get a new meme. This could be the day. However, according to the hard data, Vedi, when it comes to that top lane matchup, and by the hard data, I mean Lawlytics, Mundo, one of his worst matchups is Aatrox. So compositionally, and look, it's not perfect. I'm not going to say it's perfect, right? Obviously, there's a lot of players in solo queue, and a lot of them are not as good as Adam. But, you know, comp, good, like it. Lane phase, maybe some concerns.
Again, just my instinct, you know, maybe we'll keep track of it. I think the bigger conversation in the other game needs to be around this bot side of the map. We're getting to see Caps on Lucian. He's no stranger to the champion by any means. You look back at his history, and we have had the meta in the LEC where Lucian was king. And with the rise of AD carries, not really surprising to see him come back.
Yeah, I mean, of course, last time before the Lucian Nami pairing,
my friend.
That might be, and it is. Yike, getting harassed here. Adam, of course, immune to CC. He has to go
now we
where
understand the Mundo a little more.
Definitely better in a swap than an Aatrox, that much can be said.
That's
And
for
Broken
sure.
Blade about to experience it. The hook still hits. You love to see it. Some things never change. The size of that hitbox is one of them. And BDS, positive start. They get the flash out. This is going to make it that much harder for Broken Blade to survive if they stack the waves and go for the dive. Adam, in the meantime, classic level 1. If you missed out on MSI, your top laner either does nothing or walks mid and harasses people, walks in the jungle, harasses people. You're essentially, I think Impact said, unemployed for the first 2 or 3
Which
minutes
is
of the
ironic
game.
considering Adam is wearing a suit.
Yep.
He's throwing resumes at G2.
Yeah. He's like one of those crypto influencers, you know what I mean? He's got a lot of really good words, not so much substance. Anyway, here we are.
In any case, he is investigating the top side of the jungle, primarily gaining information for Sheo. So Sheo's pathing was pretty good here. He knows that completely abandoning the bot side, if he tries to farm there, it's a dangerous situation for him to be in. So he starts on his walls, secures his blue, and then he moves with the power that he has on the top side of the map to be able to steal away Yike's blue. Thanks to Adam also forcing Yike out of his jungle. Great early start from BDS. Of course, we know the tower changes mean that bot lane plates are going to fall way faster than top lane plates, but Adam is still getting some XP. The bot lane's going to base. Adam's going to be able to get a free level. And look at all this farm that's being completely denied from...
Oh, the timing there, very fortunate. Broken Blade finally now able to step up.
This is not the end of the world for Broken Blade, though.
XP.
This is what, 2.5, maybe even 3 waves?
I mean, after this wave, he's going to be ahead in XP. I take it back. Adam is actually going to be the one in a difficult position. And on top of that, G2's bottom lane was able to grab 2 plates. You mentioned it, Vedi, but from 50% damage reduction to 75% on that top lane tower. They didn't even get a plate. So while they have avoided the first few levels of a very frustrating 2v2 matchup, BDS paid a lot to get out of lane.
Yeah, ultimately, you're right. We'll see how much it ends up being worth it, because the whole game plan there was twofold. Number one, you mitigate Aatrox strengths within the first few levels, but also Caitlyn, Renata, that's a terrifying 2v2 lane to play into, right? So you were able to get level 3, now you have a lot more agency in being able to fight them, and you stayed relatively even in terms of gold overall still. So the big question mark becomes, now that Mundo is a full level behind the Aatrox, how much does that hurt Adam? And whether or not Ice and Labrov can mitigate the pressure that Hans, Summer, and Mikyx is going to look to try and throw out.
Nice hook from Labrov, managing to really thread the needle there, but the handshake Mikyx follow-up is good. Doesn't pull him back into the trap, though, but a desync there from Hans and Mikyx. The pressure is still favoring Ice and Labrov right now. Again, when you don't have the time to harass the Caitlyn, as a good flick from Nuke comes in. Low mana, but doing his best to fight for wave prio here. Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things about the Caitlyn, right? You really want those first few levels to keep that health bar low, to stay out of range. When it comes into the full all-ins, if you're not hitting your traps in your net, like, you're not going to out-damage, right, the Nautilus burst alongside the Zeri. And that's put them in a bit of a precarious spot.
Certainly has. Speaking of precarious, Caps plays on the very edge. The only reason why he's playing that confidently is because he's looking at Nuke's mana bar and saying, you don't get to win this extended trade. So he's going to stick around. Labrov, though, going to be spotted on a lot of vision. And he's going to interrupt the base as well. So just making things a little awkward for Caps. He needs to get his base off, does of course have the TP, so he's not going to be in any serious situation. The one who's struggled the most in this early game has been Yike. He's had a lot of his camp stolen, and he is definitely behind that of Sheo. He's going to be a full level down himself. But given that he's on the Sejuani, his primary role in this game is to be utility. And as we've seen many times with this champion, it's very hard to stop her from doing that.
Certainly. And I mean, a big transition from the role that he played yesterday.
Sheo.
As Sheo hovering. Yike is in the area at an XP disadvantage, but it shouldn't matter too much.
Taliyah
Now we see a bit of information about Yike hover. More importantly, the play. Flash the hook. Mikyx able to get on the other side of the wall. Hans, 90 caliber net, takes him out. The stun's going to hit and flicks him right back. Well timed, well positioned by Nuke. Able to get the flash out from Hans and Mikyx. Good gank from BDS.
Yeah, very nice gank. A lot of that coming into play as a result of Labrov interrupting Caps, and then Nuke, given that he's just TP'd in, Caps has the base, there's a nice little window there that Nuke can take advantage of to look for a roam. They move towards what side of the map, they get flashes out from both Hans Summer and Mikyx, along with securing the Drake, which is a little surprising considering these teams are so grub-centric, but with the advantage you've gained, you definitely want to convert it into something, so smart to secure this objective.
Really makes a lot of sense. Recall now coming in from Hansam. We'll see if he wants to shift to the top side again. Past 5 minutes, the tower plating has, or the tower reinforcement buff, not the plating, has fallen away.
This is a twofold play though, because the resets have come through from the bot side. Sheo was fast enough and is clear that he's going to be able to make his way up towards top. I mean, look at all these resets. Now the swap has come through from the top side. This was the macro that we were missing completely from BDS. The thing in their series against Mad Lions, they were incredibly good at these early game plans during the regular season, and why we expected them to be such heavy favorites against Mad Lions. But now it seems that against G2, they've kind of refound those game plans and they're executing upon them well in the early game.
Definitely are. You saw Hansama lingering in base, not to purchase an item, but to make sure that he was assigning lanes correctly, waiting to see where BDS would go, anticipating the swap here. Happy to have the 1v1 against Adam, it would seem. Also giving Mikyx the information that he can play to the top side if they want, but G2 willing to give up the grubs early on. Sheo obviously level 6, big jungle lead. Tough to win that skirmish. A single kill, a single reset. The Viego really takes over the fight. G2 now instead going to use their prio to set up for this dive, or at least to zone Adam away. Again, first tower, 300 gold. A lot of potential money here if they can keep pushing, but instead they want to go for the play. Mundo, of course, still has passive immune to the first piece of CC, so pretty tricky actually for G2 to pull this off.
Rob in the area also makes the threat of a kill that much lower. Adam would love to get level 6.
Oh, victory. BDS won series. All right, sorry, it's over.
Huh? What?
What? That was just on my screen? Oh, sorry, that was... We have a preview monitor, and
no,
it showed
I think that was. I just completely missed it.
Oh, yeah, we got it. Never mind. A little bit of a whoopsie there. And Nuke, I should say.
Do we have a graphic on the scene that says BDS won the series?
Yeah, it was an oopsie. It's like, you know, you gotta have both ready to go, and then someone pushed the button.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Similar to, you know, Caps just pushing the calling, knocking them out of lane.
Fair enough. I mean, G2 should be able to unlock a tower here. The consequences of BDS committing to that swap towards the top side, they're now going to try and swap back, but I feel like the damage is largely done. In terms of gold, though, you can see Ice not really that much behind Hans Summer. In the top side of the map, not really that much of a deficit either. The only differences we're really seeing in mid, Caps has been able to build a very healthy CS lead.
And he's almost, you know, not quite a level ahead. It's a similar story for Broken Blade, who's, you know, only halfway for Adam. So a decent XP advantage, oftentimes where we see, you know, a discrepancy in the lane swap. But credit to BDS, as you highlighted, for keeping the gold pretty close. And I think those, you know, half-level differences aren't going to matter too much, especially as neither team seems particularly keen to force a fight. 2.5 minutes till the next grub spawn. G2 going to be the team that feels a little bit under pressure to respond to that. But when it comes to side laning, when it comes to leveraging, you know, a 4-grub buff, BDS aren't really in the best position with their composition. The Lucian and the Aatrox very strong in those 1v1 side lanes.
Keep my eyes on Sheo. That's why I held my breath there. Looked like he was considering even a flash W. It's not going to end up coming through. Broken Blade did have a nice freeze. Ends up being broken as he chooses to go back to base. Notice Hansam actually falling very far behind in terms of farm. Credit to Ice. With all these swaps around the map, he's still been able to keep that CS up. Hansam playing very defensively right now. He seems very hesitant to walk up to the wave. He knows that Mikyx and Yike offer a wonder. In fact, they might be looking at mid lane here.
I mean, Ice is going to be a problem. Yike trying to force the play. Quick flash out from Nuke is good. Body block there from Labrov. Ulti from Mikyx. Locking up with a handshake to follow. Caps doing good damage. Sheo can't quite find the reset. That's going to be crucial. They go in instantly. They know they need to pull the trigger on the first kill there. The Viego down. Nuke Hoping behind the flick back, Caps, enough movement speed, boots to an early pickup. Overall, just going to be a 1-for-1 junglers traded.
A close exchange. The bailout coming from Mikyx ended up saving Yike at the very last second, but the damage was still strong enough to be able to make it a 1-for-1. The flash response from Nuke there. Ooh, Caps
going all in. He has the bailout on him. Is it going to fade away in time? Not quite able to grab the kill in the end. A 1-for-1. Will also deny a single creep, but a very aggressive play.
It certainly was. He commits his flash to that play. I guess you could argue that because of the assist, Mikyx ends up getting a little bit more gold, but nice ulti here from Yike and a good response from Nuke. The focus onto Sejuani, along with a very nice ultimate coming out from Mikyx. Works out nicely for BDS, but the response damage from G2 just as strong. Late flash from Labrov takes him to safety, in the arrival of Ice with no follow-up from Hansama means that G2 don't feel confident to commit to the play. Again, a little surprised to see Caps actually dive underneath the tower there.
The thing is, if Nuke hits him first as he's like about to finish the kill, he gets to respawn, then Nuke dies, then he gets to walk away. But the timing is awkward because he kills Nuke as it doesn't, the sequencing is wrong, essentially, which is why it ends up being way more awkward than initially intended. So they're going to try again, and this time, well, they didn't flash him under tower, and they brought 2 more people, so it turns out it works a lot better. Well-executed gank.
They make that work. Incredibly easy play. They didn't even use the Sejuani ultimate. I saw it on cooldown, I thought, oh, I mean, it came off cooldown, nice play, make it easy. But they didn't even need it. G2 with a very small gold advantage. Again, a lot of that's sitting on top of Caps right now. Often in these Caitlyn lanes, you see teams try to play around them as Labrov now in danger. Ooh, very nice hook will take him to safety, but the dragon is up. Both teams posturing around it. It's G2 with control over the river for now.
G2 very determined to fight for these Drakes. Grubs are up. Adam can start and just go for the 4th if he so chooses. Instead, wants to protect that top lane tower. G2 ready to go in. No completed item for Caps or Hansama yet, importantly, but Nuke caught out. You mentioned the ulti earlier. This time around, it's going to be there. Caps finding the first kill. Sheo hoping to find the reset. Yike going to get locked up. Ulti to follow through. Yike going forward. Where's the grasping wall? Where's the stun? A little bit of CC now coming in. That's the fall of CC as well. Caps marked up by the bailout. Sheo now in trouble. They're going to be able to grab the kill. Not quite. Just the 1-for-1 trade there in the mid lane. 2-for-1 overall, though. 2-for-2, excuse me.
I'm impressed that Caps was able to trade that back mid-jungle. It's a bloodbath here between G2 and BDS. A lot of the initial aggression coming out from G2, but the response from Ice in particular and Labrov being in position to collapse means that BDS are able to go toe-to-toe. The problem is you see this gold difference. It just keeps ballooning in favor of G2. Caps just continues to get these gold leads. We see here a nice pick onto Nuke. Very little he can do. But then this response from Labrov. He connects the hook. And look at the minimap. Ice already moving over. Leveraging his E to move over the wall, collapse with the rest of his team. He picks up that kill. And then Mikyx with a clutch flash here, knowing the Caps is likely to die, gives him an extra chance to come back, land that last auto, procs the passive. And the passive is actually enough to make it a 1-for-1. But a close affair as G2 find themselves with a 2.5k gold lead. Dragon up, Grubs up. Neither team prioritizing those objectives just yet, and the Herald actually going to be taking over from the Grubs shortly.
So overall, just a 3-grub rough for BDS. First turret, however, going inside of G2, of course, going to contribute to that gold ballooning. Increased post-MSI to 300 gold instead of the 150 first tower bonus. And Caps 1.5k individual gold lead. Again, 6.5 or a 7 on the Cap scale, we've been told. But scary boy on this Lucian mid, because in that last fight, he full collinged without a completed item. Now he can full calling with a completed item. And I don't really think Nuke has gotten any tank here, so they're going to have to give that some respect.
Ice now moving over to mid. Nuke hovering in the top river. Meanwhile, Broken Blade has been quietly farming away on the top side. His first item being a little bit delayed just because of the early investment in the Executioner's Calling. But ultimately a worthwhile purchase when playing into Mundo. You can see that with the CS discrepancy that's being built between the two top laners. Now G2 collectively as 4, control the mid wave. If they can secure this tower, they can nicely transition towards the Herald as well. Aatrox with the push. The BDS want to stop them.
Facing the hole just for a bit of harassment. Colin coming out as well. Not going to connect too much, but at least zones Nuke away. Mikyx now locked up and immediately flick back. Knocker coming in from the Nautilus as well. Berserker trying to get the disengage. Sheo gets the reset. Has flash available. Does he want to go for the flash handshake? Hansama, 90 caliber net. Over the wall, only a bit more time left on the possession. Now going to go in another flick onto Yike, but his Caps is immediately going to punish on Labrov. Sheo taken out, and they just forgot how much damage that Lucian can do.
An overstep from BDS. They force an engage onto the Sejuani of all people. I do not think that they were ever going to have enough damage to be able to melt through that front line. And with Caps and Hansama still alive, still ready to fight, it ends up being 2 easy kills. Broken Blade now committing the ulti.
World on the top side. Adam immediately ulting just to get health back. An awkward sustained battle, but of course the Grievous Wounds for Broken Blade making it a little bit easier to get a positive trade. However, Warmogs for Adam means that the extended duel is still really hard.
But notice that after every single play, somehow G2 is getting an even bigger gold lead. Like, this was a fumble from G2. I like the initiation. They force Caps back. Mikyx takes a bit of an overstep. He's going to get hooked into the knockback. Means that he loses his life. Great play from BDS. They stop their mid tower from falling. They also give themselves a numbers advantage to potentially set up for a dragon or the Grubs. They realize, though, there's still healthy members. But Ice is now left. You've lost one of your major damage dealers. They commit now onto the Sejuani of all people. The passive of Sejuani is still up. She tanks the whole thing. And then Caps and Hansama say, okay, sure, we'll take the kills.
I mean, it's a bit of an awkward exchange, right? And credit to Sheo, he wants to buffer to get away from Mikyx's ultimate, but as a result, doesn't have the natural ult, gets one from the reset. Could have been in a situation to ult, then use the base ult, right, to kill and finish Yike, but because he wanted to be ahead of the play, because he wanted to potentially follow up, didn't necessarily have that cooldown or didn't have that cooldown available. And very awkward sequence of events where a play starts so good for you and ultimately just extends Caps' gold lead, who again, getting closer, 2 items. Lucian, very terrifying. Labrov luckily has the hooks to make it out, but TP, Aatrox coming in, World Ender available, extra movement speed. They're going to be happy just to pick up Labrov. Might want to push for a bit more here. Yike. They want to step up instead, just trying to zone off, get their vision control down. They can turn back to Drake when they want. Adam uncontested in the top side, but still a positive trade for G2.
Just a nice sequence of events. They shift Caps to bot. They have a TP ward ready for Broken Blade. They push in mid with Hansama, and then they collapse onto Labrov, who's just trying to get vision. They set themselves up nicely for the Dragon with good deep vision coverage. They steal all the Caps away from BDS's bot side, and the only exchange is the top tier 1. They're more than happy to take that. And I mean, that was just a really nice sequence of events. The best case scenario is to, naturally as Sheo is doing, go for the cross map, secure the Herald, a valuable objective that can help them unlock the mid tower. But yeah, while BDS had some nice macro in the early game, it's kind of turned into a lot of skirmishes where G2 have just come out the better.
Now Nuke, isolated in the 1v1. Aatrox does not take damage. Nuke forced to flash, so credit to BB. Solid 1v1, Nuke is able to back off, and yeah, like, Betty, this is already 3K gold lead. Drakes are very, very close. The Caitlyn, I think, is going to be a pretty big problem for this team because they don't really have a ton of range. Once she gets 3 items, now with the IE completed, a rapid fire, potentially 3rd, or maybe just some armor penetration to deal with the Mundo, who admittedly thus far has not built any armor outside of the plated steel caps.
You imagine that he'll get some in the near future. But yeah, obviously plated steel caps, as BDS has acknowledged, a lot of value in this game. But it's that interesting situation where, okay, yeah, it does get a lot of value, but then Merc Treads also has a lot of value when playing into a Renata and a Sejuani.
Yeah.
And speaking of,
Nuke, good backstep, good sidestep, but Caps is here, dodging the CC, not enough. You have to try to find a way to dodge the damage, and for a second there, he does, but now 2 members taken out. The reset not quite able to come through. Yike finding the kill first, even if he does go down. Now Labrov is going to be the one in trouble. Knock up there. Adam trying to do everything he can, but again, he doesn't have any armor. Ice trying to pop off, but the Lucian is just stronger. Caps does not care. Double kill on the top side.
19 minutes in, and it's an ace for G2. It starts off with a single pick onto Nuke. That as the rest of BDS try to respond, they end up getting punished. And the crazy thing is, Broken Blade wasn't even there. It was a 4v5, and G2 decimate BDS. Another tower secured top lane, a 5k gold lead. And look at this Lucian, a 3k gold lead over his lane counterpart. Level 14 for Caps. We look back at the play, as we said, starts off with this initial pick onto Nuke. Oh, nope, we don't have time.
Broken Blade did this once before, now he'll try again, knowing Nuke doesn't have flash. One more auto, might have to trade his life, no. A little bit extra health. Sheo should just kill him. One auto! No! Itemization, baby! Bruisers! Alive and well. Sheo now trying to turn it back. One more auto in power. Lifesteal versus lifesteal, baby, but nobody drain takes. Like an Aatrox with Sundered Sky.
The Sundered Sky, the healing from Aatrox. We need a replay of exactly how
Sundered
much...
Sky, Deathbringer stance, and the patch notes, baby. The holy trinity of making that possible.
I'm going to get you the exact healing about right now.
Okay, Betty's watching the replay. He's locked in, folks. Oh my! Folks, 932 health from an auto attack. I know you were thinking it already, but Riot, please.
932.
Of course, this is the initial play. Solid 1v1. Gets a little awkward in the end as he's obviously
so look at his
slowed.
HP at the bottom. Look at his HP. 39, 55. He's got... And then... Boom!
We're back! Aatrox is back, folks!
One guy's
One
really
guy is
happy
really
about that.
jazzed about Aatrox. 2-0-1. 1.2k gold lead. Most of that built in the last couple moments. Obviously was already at an advantage, but 2 quick kills definitely only going to cement that further. Folks, this was a steady growth of relatively small advantages for G2, but after those last 2 sequences of play, it is a massive lead. BDS overloading the top side, willing to concede their tier 2 just to have a chance at forcing a 5v4.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying, but Aatrox is just an absolute menace. Now the collapse onto him. The raid boss is back in the game.
The problem is, and look, I'm a terrible Aatrox, so I know I can say this, is even if you whiff every single Q, one Sundered Sky auto does so much work. Broken away though, now dashing away, they've layered the CC beautifully. One more auto, again, more healing. They're having to burn so much, he's trying to get the blast cone. The Sundered Sky! Independent target cooldown means it takes a year, and G2 can grab a tier 2 in the meantime. And we're not going to push for the tier 3 yet. So BDS do get the pick, do get a ton of gold in their pocket. And Broken Blade, overconfident. And while we can understand why, probably didn't need to be there.
They alleviate some of the pressure at the very least. The siege will stop for now. And hey, they get a bit of gold back, but really it's a fraction of the deficit that they find themselves in. Mikyx alone has a 2k gold lead.
He's also not that rich. Thank you, Santander. He's not that. He's the 4th richest person in the game, and he's doing this.
Yeah.
The real problems are the Caitlyn, who looks like they're doesn't look like Hans is ahead, and of course compared to Ice, he's not. But compared to every other person on the map, he is very far ahead. That is rapid fire cannon on the Caitlyn.
Baron is going to be wearing off, but G2, they don't need to slow down the siege. Broken Blade has TP, so he's going to go catch the top wave. Level 16 now secured for Caps. He is, at the very least, 2 levels above anyone on the side of BDS.
Yeah, and the colon was already a problem. I assume he's going to reset for a 3rd item here. He is incredibly wealthy.
Oh, there's the Herald.
No.
Not as much value as I think BDS would have liked.
Well, that most certainly is true. Heartsteel for the Mundo, 2nd item.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the build we saw from Broken Blade as well.
I don't love Heartsteel 2nd, but I understand it. Obviously, Warmox is just an insane item in terms of sustain and being able to stay relevant. And Heartsteel going to scale very well for the Mundo.
So,
I just don't think you're going to get a lot of procs.
I will say, my take on Mundo is I feel like he does well into AP heavy drafts because I feel like healing the way, I mean, burst sucks against healing, right? If you're just if you can just kind of tank through the burst, which is why against a lot of AP champions, I think Mundo finds a lot of value, especially just building a huge amount.
Their entire spell rotation, and then they don't do anything. For
but I feel like Caitlyn and Lucian can just keep hitting you.
Yeah, their spell rotation is 1 second every second.
Yeah. Now, do I think that the Mundo is the problem in this game? Absolutely not. I feel like that many other things have just kind of fallen apart.
Nice stun over the wall. No handshake to follow, Adam.
But there's no front line.
Infernal Chains there. G2 very casually just walking in, tanking a tower, and killing people. They have a 9k gold lead, so it's, again, incredibly dominant position. BDS, I don't really know how they force a fight here. Ice, 3 items, but went for armor penetration, which means he isn't nearly as effective against the likes of Hans or Caps. Flick on a Yike won't connect.
We can now move back to top. Wave's in a bit of an awkward spot. Caps has to take the long way around that bot wave. Also not really in a great position. G2 just continuing the pressure as they wait for Baron to spawn. Broken Blade trying to catch some waves in the enemy base. Labrov respawning in about a second. G2 really just suffocating BDS, denying them all the vision. And they'll continue to press their advantage as much as possible.
Very disciplined thus far. Of course, they are so powerful, as we saw moments ago. They can't just walk up. They don't have to be scared of too much here, but making sure they have at least 2 points of pressure before they do. Yike getting away from the flick back with the Arctic Assault. Broken Blade trying to usher in that wave. 47 seconds until Baron spawns. A quick reset coming through. G2 can pick up items, spend their money, be right back on the map for Baron. BDS still going to need to deal with these super waves in mid.
Exactly that. And BDS also has to spend all of their vision clearing out the vision from G2. So while they'll be able to reclaim their side of the jungle, fortunately they won't really have much to set up for the objective themselves. The best that they're kind of hoping for is to be able to contest it. And again, like you can already see some of that vision being whittled away. But now the reset has to come through from Labrov. He has to go and replenish his wards. G2 will come back out onto the map fully restocked, and keep your eyes on Mikyx already denying all that vision.
Adam, no Q hit, so he should be able to walk out of the Infernal Chains. Sorry, Q did hit, technically blocked by his passive. He goes where he pleases. Red buff. Warmox ticking in, means he's full health. But now Adam starting to feel a little bit more comfortable about this 1v1. Comfort was short-lived, however, as he's now backing up. And Hansama on the Caitlyn. Instant combo. Goodbye to the jungler. Easy peasy.
Yeah, that Caitlyn kind of slaps. That was a heavy hit onto Sheo.
And this is before armor penetration. Keep in mind, you've got 2 cloth armors and plated steel caps, so it doesn't get better.
No. Baron going to be secured, and you imagine that that will likely be the game for G2, unless we see some monumental throw or a crazy team fight from BDS. I mean,
yeah, I mean, normally, look, like, you look at a champion like Zeri, she is one of those champs, late game team fight, you know, she can weave in and out, she gets so much movement speed, but Caitlyn just has range, right? A single trap. Just got a Renata who controls so much space. You got Broken Blade, who's a big problem. Ice just isn't going to have time to do the AD carry thing that he needs to do in these fights.
For sure. I mean, yesterday, the day before yesterday, we saw BDS pull some miracle fights out of their hats. But I feel like G2 is very aware of that. And I imagine we'll see the discipline required to close this one out. They gather as 5 on the top lane. Mundo's still in the bot. He needs to get here fast, so this tower's going to disappear.
I think they've accepted the tower will disappear, as the recall is now coming in. Ready instead just to hold the base against this Baron push, knowing that really their inhibitors do not belong to them, only bot inhibitor protected by the fact that Adam did push those waves out so far. Hook in onto a minion means Labrov almost gives his life. So much damage up front. Caps, though, the ulti now coming in. Ice immediately going to use the lightning crash, trying to get as much damage down. Hansama not attacking the AD carry means Ice is free. Hit as much as he wants, but he's already lost half his life just for stepping up. Adam trying to heal. Nuke getting lower and lower. Ulti from Yike trying to snipe. BDS focused on the waves first, knowing they need to keep that base standing. But now Labrov for an angle to potentially follow up here. Spectrum off from the Viego. Sheo stepping in, does manage to connect on the Yike. Not the ideal target.
And credit to BDS. They get good damage down, and they hold against G2. Broken Blade is getting chased down.
Ulti first from Labrov. Wall as well. Nuke. Flick does not hit. Nice umbral dash from Broken Blade to make it out.
Of course, BDS acknowledged that they're likely going to lose the Dragon as well. Interestingly, G2 just turned their attention to bot. Caps did get a reset off. Now level 18 on the Lucian. Has completed his 4th item. And they set their sights on the 3rd and final inhibitor. They actually completely abandoned the Dragon. TP from Broken Blade is available. He's going to use that on the minion.
Makes the siege that much easier. G2 not even worried about the tower. Happy to just free hit Labrov. Broken Blade zooming in with that World Ender movement speed. Adam trying to soak as much damage as he possibly can. Ice again, now allowed to auto attack. Broken Blade getting lower and lower. Redemption there, the bailout there, but Broken Blade can't find a kill. He will not get the reset. He goes down. Sheo now gets to become Broken Blade, but can't get into melee range. And that means no Sunder Sky procs for him. Caps backing up. This should just be the end. Ice and Adam versus the world. They'll get another shot at this one in game 2, but this should just be it. Mikyx stepping up, Ice locked up, Cleanse now used. Caps at Hansama. splitting their attention between the BDS AD carry and the base, but Ice, one auto from Hans, doing a whole hell of a lot of work, and now Berserker's Ice is almost going to kill Adam in his own base. Will not come through, and the Nexus will finally fall. G2 going to take their time. Cap's going to give his life for some reason, and that is game 1 for G2.
An overall very solid game from G2. Little to criticize. They conceded a lot of the early game objectives, but they handled the swap well, and after every skirmish, Caps just continue to build a bigger and bigger gold leads, ultimately resulting in a one-sided affair.
Terrifying prospect, that Lucian mid. We'll see how the draft adjusts as we get ready for game 2. We're going to head to a quick break. When we return, the AD will tell us all about that one.
Red Bull gives you wings. There's a place where everything begins. From the first tutorial journey to challenging the worlds. A place where people connect and friends rise to become legends. There's a place where adventure awaits you.
Welcome
To the legendary lobby.
Marriott Bonvoy. Unlock exclusive member rates and legendary benefits across over 30 hotel brands worldwide. Sign up today for free and claim your Masterwork chest and key.